Hello, everyone. Welcome to Alia & Co., the podcast where we talk about complex things and we break them down and we simplify them and make them easy to understand. Today, our topic is pretty fun. We're going to talk about fashion and culture. You know, in 2009, there was a court case in Sudan where a woman was considered indecent for wearing pants. She was flogged. I mean, it was a big deal. It was considered indecent. I mean, but then also, I feel like that's a cultural thing. That's in one location. But then in Japan, there was a movement where women did not want to wear heels to work. That was a thing. Is like when you go to work, you're basically like, you have to. That's their dress code, is that you have to wear high heels. Imagine having to wear stilettos all day. Like when you're working, I would be like, well, I can't not wear heels, but like stilettos is kind of hard, And then he was talking to, over here, Finny earlier, and we were talking about how in North Korea, they don't want people to wear blue jeans.
Wow.
You're not allowed to wear blue jeans, So it's kind of interesting how fashion and culture, there's a lot of alignment, but then there's a lot of judgment. And so today we have just the perfect guest for this. Welcome, Ghazala Khan.
Thank you.
She is a fashion designer. She's launching her own line. She is the owner of Roz Boutique. It is the first boutique that is South Asian that started carrying designer wear. And we're going to break that down because South Asian, like just the dress in general, it is such a big, important part of the culture and the way that you carry yourself. And so we want to get into that. But first, I definitely want to ask you, how did you get into fashion? Let's talk about little Ghazala. Let's talk about where did this yearning for, hey, I want to be in this industry. Where did that come from?
I think a lot of it was inbuilt because I think we're all born with this likeness towards certain colors and the look and certain outfit and this fashion thing, which I think we're born with. Like I feel every girl is born with that. Some people are a little more and some people are less. So like my sister, she was very particular about the certain colors and she was like, only this uniform I would like. But I was very experimental. So I think it started with that. I was very picky when my mom would get me any outfit. So then I knew like there's so much more which I can play out with.
Interesting. Okay, so let's go. Let's lean in a little bit more. Experimental. What does that mean?
I don't know. I think I was very, very experimental where, I would see a lot of people, wear this traditional shalwar kurta, but I always wanted to kind of drape the dupatta very different. So I always wanted to be very different from, normal people, normal cultural design, which we would, see. A lot of people were always wearing this trend, which they always wanted to go where everybody was doing, but I wanted to break that trend. So I was like, okay, well, everybody's wearing shalwar or kurta for their Eid.
Right. And actually, could you define that for, for our viewers who might not know what it's called?
Shalwar kurta is like this traditional Indian wear where it's like a tunic and it comes with pants, but it's more like a jasmine pants sort of. So it's a very traditional thing where everybody's been wearing. I think it's also think about everybody, like if they think, okay, what is Indian and Pakistani fashion? They think about that. So I actually wanted to change that. I wanted to wear that without a dupatta, which is a scarf, which would go on the neck. I would want to wear or drape the dupatta in a very different style, which it looks like a gown, not the shalwar kurta. Or I would kind of wear it with a little one shoulder drape falling on the other side and make it look very different. So I would get a lot of attention.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. But it's a statement, of your creativity. So you were experimental as a child. Now let's fast forward a little bit into you being maybe in high school, entering your early 20s. How did fashion play kind of like a role in your life at that point?
I think anything which is very different or out of norm. fashion is something which I always felt makes you feel confident and you fall in love with that. A lot of people are not sure about what they're wearing. They'll pull up a tunic or they'll put up a dress, but they're not very happy. They don't feel they look good in, and they don't love it. I wouldn't call that as fashion because I think anybody, whether it's woman or man or a little child, I think what they wear, which they feel comfortable, whether it fits perfect or it doesn't fit perfect, they absolutely feel amazing in it. I think that's what real fashion is.
I love
which I
that.
always feel. Yeah.
So the confidence.
The confidence.
Interesting. And I actually really love that. So, so you're finding yourself where you're realizing, I don't really need to adhere to what the trend or the norm or what everybody else is wearing. I love how I feel in this. I love how I feel confident because, I'm going to just say it like it is. I'm a mom. We have certain things that used to fit us before we had kids that don't fit us, and it's hoarding in our closet. We're keeping it there in hopes that one day we will fit into it. And I have daughters now that have the same shoe size and the same, not the same size, but they can fit into my clothes. I can't fit into their clothes. But it's kind of interesting because.
But there you go. I think isn't this our own made up mindset about fashion? Because I think we all are, we've made this thing about fashion where we feel like it has to only be a certain look,
right?
Or it has to only fit us. Why is it different for you to feel that, okay, they can fit into my clothes, but I can't. But for them, that's fashion because they're able to fit into your clothes. So I think it is us what we've made it, because I get a lot of my clients who tell me that, if I'm going to wear a certain outfit, it's going to make me look big. But when I actually went to school, I actually saw there's certain cuts where if you have a little extra fabric around your waist, it can actually make you look slimmer, which a lot of people don't know about.
Interesting. Like a ruched sort of look.
Yeah. And actually, if you wear very fitted clothes, you look bigger.
Yeah.
Because you see a lot of your curves coming out. So that is something which I feel a lot of people have that in mind, and it kind of restricts them, and it just makes them feel very conscious. So I feel like fashion is something where it shouldn't make you look or feel conscious. It should make you feel very confident. It actually has to make you feel like, okay, I look the best here.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I absolutely love that. And I think that, with, say, for example, my daughters, at least the evolution of that is that I recently had the realization is like, why am I holding on to these clothes for 20 years? I was like, listen, girls, calm down. Do you want these?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm donating because I cannot even do this anymore. You know? Online shopping makes it kind of hard because sometimes it's hard to find the right size. I think sometimes it's very subjective to the brand, where sometimes they'll say an extra small runs big and a small runs small and this and that. So I think online shopping, which I want to get into later, kind of makes it a little bit harder. But the return policies nowadays are better, before they were. But I think it's like what you put on your body and looks good and flatters you. I think that there's a whole idea of body image, right?
Yeah.
And so,
it is.
Do you think those two things are correlated, body image and what you and fashion?
No, I think it's about the psychology of what and how we feel as human. A lot of girls feel like if they wear loose-fitted outfits, it's gonna make them look old, or it's all in our minds. A lot of my person who I really look up to, and I would say she's like my fashion guru, who has always been my role model, is Sunita Kapoor, Anil Kapoor's wife. I love her. And I've always admired her fashion sense. And another designer, Anamika Khanna, they wear these very loose-fitted, big size jackets, which they're really thin, but then they wear it in a way that it looks super elegant, and it gives a certain image about them. But again, there are a lot of like ladies who are, very accomplished, really confident, but they wear really tight fitted outfits, which looks beautiful. So I think it's about us.
Right.
Same way, like, I think back in the days, as the culture we've come from, a certain look is only considered beautiful, right? Like fair skinned girl who has big eyes and sharp nose and small. They've made up this portrait about beauty, but that they're beautiful girls who have zero confidence and they have no, persona or no personality. They turned, and if you look at them, they look ugly to you. But then there are girls who are, dark skinned, beautiful features, but they're super confident. They become super attractive.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it's about fashion. I think fashion is the same thing. It's about what makes you feel confident, and it's your personal choice too. So like not necessarily that certain people like certain colors, but then they don't like that cut. And so because I've been doing this for 15 years at my store, I try to convince them, okay, I think this looks good on you. I think this neckline is going to look good on you, but they're not confident with that. So what they love and they design, it makes them super confident.
Yeah.
And they're shining.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I love that. And you bring up an interesting point, specifically about, this whole thing, perception, your identity,
Yeah.
A lot of it, I think society also does to us in general. We have the social media, just in every society, there are certain kind of ways they look at beauty. I mean, through the ages, you see people that, before maybe in the 1950s, being a little plump was, considered, and actually now I think everything goes, but I mean, trends with the models, eventually they just became more and more like emaciated and thinner and this and that. And, just the idea of like fitting into certain things. You think that if you cannot pull something off, then perhaps maybe you're not attractive. So do you think maybe society, larger, the culture, the media, the way that things are on social media, do you think that that has a big role on a person's confidence?
I think so. Yes, I think so. Because actually, it's unfortunate that social media has made it in a way that everybody's talking everything. And then they have this huge following, and then they have so many likes, and then people actually believe that that's true. I think a lot of expectations have become high because it only shows like a fantasy sort of a thing where, certain girls put a lot of filters on and then there's so many editing and then they make it look super beautiful. But then we sort of feel like, okay, that's only beautiful.
Right. Yeah.
So I think, it's difficult. I think it's difficult. But then I think, again, the people don't realize that we don't need validation. We should feel what we look good in and we are confident in, and the colors we carry. I think it'll absolutely make us look good. We don't need.
Oh, 100%. I think, and you bring up an excellent point about validation.
Yeah.
Society perhaps validating, quote unquote, validating people for being thin, or now with the Botox and the fillers and having the big lips and the, the cheekbones, and, you have your fillers and there's so many ways to alter yourself, extensions and eyelash extensions and whatnot. And there's so many ways for someone to, these things are out there and they're open and people are talking about them. So I think that when it comes to just the way that you see yourself, certainly people, maybe they feel like they can't validate themselves, right? Because I don't look like this. So, if I can't look like that, if I do look like that, then I'll be validated.
Yes.
Do you think that, what's the key to being able to validate yourself?
I think the best way is to keep yourself happy and, follow certain things where you kind of experiment. And, when you're at peace and when you're happy, you tend to sort of do things which actually, makes you feel happy in whatever you do. For me, I think every woman should know this, that they don't need validation. They need to have that self-confidence, self-care, and, self-knowledge, like to get different sort of knowledge and experience different things will, change everything.
Yeah. I agree. There is an exercise that, and I think, there's an exercise that I was looking at and on how to validate yourself.
Yeah, there's so many things out there.
Yeah. And the thing is the way that you start to do it, because I think that maybe our society kind of doesn't show that validation or.
Yeah, so I think right now there's so much superficial stuff which people are bombarded with and overwhelmed with, that, okay, there's only certain things which we need to do. And also, like, the algorithm of social media is, if you're looking at one thing, automatically there's like 20 things coming with the same topic.
Right.
And then people are not realizing, like, who are they listening to? I mean, are they really experienced people? Are there people who are really have achieved a success through their hard work and knowledge? Or it's the superficial, materialistic,
somebody who heard it from somebody else and they just copied the video.
Yeah. So it's, that's what I think a lot of audience is not understanding. I feel, social media is definitely, not the right thing we should all go by. There's so many things out there, like podcasts. Like I listen to Mel Robbins' podcast, Jay Shetty. They are like the one which are very well known. But I think a lot of people who's really experienced and seen and, gone through so much in their life, they are the right people to tell you what they've followed and what has helped.
Right.
I feel at this day of age, the most important thing which we as women or men need to learn is health. How healthy we are. Because if we are healthy, there's so much we can do.
Yeah. Healthy is in terms of physically, but mentally also.
Mentally too, yes.
Yeah.
It's about mental and physical health.
And I think that specifically in a lot of cultures, a lot of societies, a lot of this is now just starting.
Yes.
The mental health before, I know in the South Asian community, stigmatized. It's like, you're pagal,
So my dad, my dad was the first psychiatrist in South Asia.
Oh, wow.
He was one of the first, actually. I don't think he was the first. He was like the fourth or fifth. So people didn't even know
what that was.
Yeah, what's the meaning of psychiatrist?
What did they think it was then?
They said pagalon ka doctor, meaning doctor of the
crazy
guy.
people.
Yeah, crazy people.
Pagal means crazy.
Doctor of mental.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But so let's like pull back a little bit. I think, we're talking about validation. We're talking about confidence.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to share an exercise, which I think has helped a lot of people.
Yeah.
But most people don't know how to validate themselves. Like, what do I do to validate myself? I can tell myself to validate myself, but how do I start to validate myself?
I think self-talk.
Absolutely. So the exercise that I watched years ago was sit down, and I did this experiment with an older lady, a South Asian older lady, and I asked her, write down all of the good things about yourself. What are you good at? Why do you like yourself? Are you nice? Are you kind? Do you help people?
Amazing.
Do you this and that? And, and I think it's a certain generational thing too. She felt embarrassed to write it. She felt embarrassed. She's just like, oh, I'd be boasting, and I think it's like, there's a lot of guilt and shame in a lot of like Eastern cultures and stuff like that. But what they say is write a list of all of the things that you find good about yourself and just take it and read it day after day after day after day after day.
Wow.
Because if you can do that, you need to believe.
Yeah.
Anybody can tell you.
Yes.
Anybody can tell you that, you're nice, you're kind, this and that. But if you don't believe it, then what's the point?
Yeah. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I think I love what you just said.
No, it was fun. It was a good, I think it's a great exercise for young girls specifically, because I think there's a lot of confusion, like you were mentioning, but to pull it back as we were kind of moving into this kind of question that I have, the larger picture of it, because fashion is such a big part I mean, whether you say it's true or not,
Yeah.
but women are also always thinking about what they look like.
Yeah.
This is the case, and not specifically for your own. I mean, it would be beautiful if it's just to make you happy. I mean, yeah, certainly you feel happy when you look
Yeah.
good. That's if you feel confident. But in a lot of different environments, like for example, if you walk into a boardroom and you're dressed a certain way, you may not be taken as seriously as if you were dressed a little bit more of like a power suit. So you can't be dressed for the club going to a board meeting,
Yeah.
and then vice versa. Maybe, you're at somewhere, maybe who knows, you could be going to a pool party and maybe your kid, you showed up and you are swimming in your pajamas. Like it's
I know.
a little bit of a different situation. But I think that across the board, and it doesn't matter whether it's South Asia, it could be in Africa, it could be North Korea, it could be Japan, it could be Canada, it could be anywhere.
Yeah.
I would say that fashion plays a large part in the way that people are perceived.
Yes.
And I think we still try. I mean, I know I do. I'll be very honest. Like, the way that I would dress if I was going to a dinner party is very different than I would dress at the gym, So, I would love to hear your thoughts on that, specifically on why do you think that is? Why do you think that we as women, because I don't think men are judged the same when it comes to the way that they,
No, I think they are as well.
Okay.
Because the way a guy is going to wear a T-shirt and, short pants, he cannot be taken seriously in the corporate meeting. He has to wear a suit or he has to wear these tux. And it actually gives a big impact.
100%.
So that I think it's the same way for us women too. But I think this is also is coming from back in the days where, there were certain norms of certain uniformity for what they need to wear. So naturally, gym is comfort. So they are clothing which is made for comfort. But at the same time, you have to feel comfortable again with that. You can't wear something which is so tight fitted, or if you're not in shape, you cannot wear just like sports bra.
It rips if you bend over.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's very important where, comfort comes there. Naturally, if you're going to wear something for a dinner party where, you have this uniform, but at the same time you're wearing extremely comfortable clothing there, like, that's not going to go well. So I think it's all about knowing, finding out what a little bit, trend is, and also following what, makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Because majority of people are not going to wear, gym clothing to a certain party. So,
Oh, 100%. And I think it's interesting because 100%, that's very true.
Yeah.
Definitely there's certain norms in certain places.
Yes.
I mean, while it's not against the rules.
Yeah.
Unless they won't let you in, that's a different kind of situation where it's like you go to a restaurant, they say no hats, no jeans or whatnot. That's the rule for whatever that place that you're dining at. But generally speaking, it's not something that's policed where you must wear a certain outfit at a certain place or whatnot. But there is a little bit more of a soft touch to it.
Yeah,
right.
There is.
Because at the end of the day, it is also how people perceive you, and perhaps maybe also how they treat you.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to elaborate a little bit on that, like your dressing and how perhaps maybe,
being judged
or how people react to you, or how they treat you. Yeah.
So I think again, we have to follow certain norms. What we were just talking about, whether we're in the gym or we're in a certain occasion, there are these norms, or there's like this formality of attire wearing, right? So that's very important. But at the same time, you can dress it up or make it really, trendy, or making it like, different. That's also, which will make you feel good. But I think people's perception towards doing that only, I again, in that, there's so many different things that you could do. So, like, for example, if you're going to the gym, people think, okay, just sweatpants and sweatshirts are only the thing. Or, you have to wear certain types of athletic wear. It's not necessary. Like, if you feel like you look good in a loose t-shirt and like yoga pants, do that. If you want to wear something where you want to look cool, whether it's like a headband or a cap, do that. Or like this crossbody bag, and if it kind of like motivates you to go and do that, that's what I feel and I believe, and I do that. There are times that I just hate waking up in the morning and going to gym, but that's necessary for my health, and also I want to look good. So I kind of make sure that I do a little bit of like this hat, or like I wear a cap to make that
Motivate you to get to the gym.
Yeah.
I need to be out here.
Yeah. So that's what I feel like. I think that's something which we all should follow. Again, for the corporate world, like there's a dogma where like people for certain cultures, they don't allow you, or they feel like it's not appropriate to wear sleeveless or like show skin. But if you want to follow that, it's not necessary that you need to feel like, okay, you're not going to be a part of that. You could always make it look, covering up with a little bit of a shawl and making it look fashionable.
Right. Yeah.
And, go wearing it.
Yeah. I think specifically, like, so you have the what you need to do, right? What's the purposeful attire for the place? But like getting into attire, because a lot of people wear clothes for other people.
Yeah.
I love the fact that it's important to wear it for yourself and feel confident. That's I believe that's number one,
yes.
right? But at the same time, then I think society as a whole, there's the designers and the trends and this and that. And, like people like to buy things to maybe show that that they're worth, or, so like buying it for other people, like, is that, I mean, there's a lot of realism to it, because again, if you walk into a corporate space and you are perhaps, say, a man at a meeting, and a woman walks in dressed maybe scantily, not the usual attire for an office space, he might have a certain idea.
Yeah.
I think in a lot of spaces, I mean, and I don't to, but let's just say it's past, if something that happened, 9/11, wearing a headscarf, maybe after that, it's just the political environment, there's a judgment, that, this person has this kind of belief system.
Yes.
While maybe they don't,
Yeah, absolutely. I think we are living in this society or this generation where there's going to be a lot of judgmental, dogmatic things which we are going to face. Again, it comes to your personal confidence, where if you feel you want to wear, again, I think everything should be balanced. I always believe that. If you don't have that balance, then there's nothing. There has to be control and balance in everything. So while keeping that in mind, if you feel like you want to wear a dress, but you're comfortable with, go ahead and do it. I mean, naturally, you're not going to wear something which is skimpy, where you're not comfortable, where you're, attracting so much attention. I think it's also about like the psychology of, different things. There've been certain occasions which we've attended, and they were strictly written that you have to wear sari, which is like that attire where, girls or women drape it all around, and it's that certain piece. There were so many different women who wore different type of saris, and it was just beautiful. There were so many different colors. There were so many different designs. There were different cuts. But then there were some girls who were wearing like a really skimpy blouse where they were showing like too much attention. And then they kind of like made it too, and they were made
provocative.
Fun of. Yeah.
I mean, and that's judgment for you, I would say.
Yeah.
But do you think subconsciously maybe certain individuals will dress a certain way because they want the attention?
Yes. So that's why I think it's personal choice. So like for me, I would be conscious. Like I don't want to be doing something which I feel ashamed of. So I've always followed trend and fashion, keeping that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are girls who love doing that. And I don't think there's anything which I would judge. But then if they want to be judged that way, go ahead. They like wearing very, very, skin showing sort of clothes,
But
which they love it.
Yeah, but not even in, I would say, the South Asian community. I think just in general,
Yeah.
if you look at society, I would tell my kids growing up, when you'd watch something on TV,
Yeah.
like, mommy, why are they kissing? What are they,
Yes.
Or, and I was like, listen, how many people, maybe you see it every now and then, but you're not watching people making out on every corner. Like, it's just not
Absolutely.
happening.
Yeah.
Same with violence.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily, we live, at least we're here in a society where we're not seeing that violence,
Yeah.
But the thing is that people sensationalize things because they want you to watch their show, right?
Absolutely. Anything which gets attention, I feel, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing is that, but then also in society, like I know you're talking about kind of revealing clothing. I would say even just generally speaking in a lot of cultures, what is, if you want male attention, perhaps you might wear something seductive, If you want female attention, I mean, in many different kinds of ways, I don't know, or maybe just to show that you can pull it off or you're wearing it,
So I think end of the day, everything comes to the same thing, that I think we as human have started doing things to get other people's attention, which, they're happy or they're sad. Sometimes I know a lot of my friends or a lot of my, clients who dressed a certain way for someone else, and they were expecting a certain type of reaction from them, which few of them got it. They were really happy, but few of them didn't get it. So they were extremely sad.
Interesting.
So I would always tell them that, why would you do something for someone else? Why can't we do for ourselves? Because if we do this for ourselves, we're setting up a trend. We're setting up this extremely beautiful, fashionable statement about ourselves. And I think it also makes us super happy because, it's something which we created.
Right.
Fashion is the only thing which can give power. Because if you think about it, like we were talking about different cultures, like women are not supposed to be out there in certain cultures. But then even them can show power through dressing up or through fashion. Because anyone and everyone can show their style and feel good and empower by
how they present themselves.
How they style, what they wear. And fashion is not something only with clothing, right? It's about how you accessorize it, or what kind of earrings you wear, how you kind of overall
carry it. Yeah.
So I don't think anybody realizes that. And I don't think anyone ever talked about this.
Yeah. And it's interesting is that, the whole idea, I mean, you have the idea of wearing a sari, and you being South Asian, it looks very different than, say, maybe a Caucasian lady wearing a sari. It hits a little bit different.
It does.
So, but you're right. I think that there is a lot of power in your appearance. Certainly, if you are dressed, if you're dressed well, whatever the meaning of dressing well is, at least that you care about your appearance.
Yes.
If you walk into a space, people will treat you differently versus somebody that is ill-groomed, and somebody that may be wearing a wrinkled shirt, did not put any thought or attention into what they're wearing. I mean, certainly the treatment is different.
Absolutely.
And the thing is that I would say, yes, it's important to be confident, but maybe it feels good to, to put yourself out there and be treated the way that you deserve to be treated.
Absolutely.
So I would love to get into, and we talked about it globally and we've established that in general, your appearance dictates the way that people treat you. Whether it's not wearing enough clothing maybe even, and the extreme parallel, like,
Yeah.
wearing a lot of clothing, people have opinions about it.
Absolutely.
I mean, specifically when it comes into like, and we're both South Asian. So like,
Yeah.
we understand South Asia, that Middle Eastern kind of culture.
Yeah.
Because I would say that I don't want to just say that it's a religious thing. I think it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
There's a certain, what modesty is. And I would love to get into that because I think it's important to break it down to individuals because people think that somebody who is dressed modestly might be suppressed, but it is it is very much so the opposite. So, and so a lot of whatever that is, because it's so complex, right?
It is.
Sometimes it is suppressed because perhaps maybe there's a certain household that is making somebody do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it's liberating, where it's like, okay, I chose to do this and I want to, whereas sometimes it's also generational, So tell me about, at least in terms of fashion and what
modesty.
you're wearing. I would love for you to explain modesty to maybe say someone that might not have any idea why someone is even putting that on their head or why they're wearing such baggy clothes or, because a lot of times, in Western societies, they look at these individuals as they're hiding you, they're suppressing you.
Yeah.
Let's bridge the gap here.
I think for me, modesty is, again, how it has come over the years with, culture and history. Because I think there were times back in the days where every lady was supposed to cover her head, whether it's any religion. And I think that was, shown as modesty. But it can be anything. Basically, what I feel modesty can be shown is through elegance. In my culture, where I grew up, they would say that women are not supposed to show their skin. But then I also saw the same women wearing saris, which is the attire where they have blouse, skirt, and then there's a little fabric which is draping them and showing a part of their tummy. And then slowly the time came that there was fashion where in the same sari or that same cut, they had this blouse which was really deep and people were loving it. So I think the people who were, preaching about modesty were also going with the trend of wearing saris. So I feel modesty is something which kind of shows elegance. And, it kind of makes you feel, again, comfortable. Because a lot of women wear abayas, which is too much, but then they also wear very
Abaya is
fitted.
what? What is an abaya?
Abaya is one of this cultural attire where Muslims wear, where they cover a piece of fabric on their head, and then it's like a jacket where they're supposed to not show their body parts or not very tight-fitted body parts. But then now abaya is having so many different styles that they're actually showing curves with the abayas.
Yeah.
So culturally, back in the days where women were supposed to cover themselves was because there were times where there were so many, religious wars happening. And then there were less women and there were more men. And women wanted to sort of safeguard themselves by covering up themselves. But that happens into certain areas. If you sort of cover your entire face and you're going on the airport, naturally you're going to be suspect.
You're right. Yeah.
So I think...
Are you even a man or a woman or what are you? Who is that?
And
are you two children?
You're
what
attracting attention. You're attracting attention.
Attracting attention, absolutely.
The reason what we actually were taught that we as Muslim women have to wear abayas is not to attract attention of men.
Right.
But then you're actually attracting attention here. But again, it's the personal choice. Some of the people want to get it culturally. Some of the people feel like, okay, they've had more education about the reasoning of the religion. So they're like, okay, we don't have to. It's actually in the eyes of a woman who, if she wants attention, she can get it. If she doesn't, then, She can wear whatever comfortable outfit she can, and she still doesn't have to attract anybody's attention.
Right. That's an interesting theme that we've consistently attention,
Yeah. Attention.
and I think that there's so much complexity there for sure. Specifically like history and religion and culture.
Yeah.
So outside of, there's the two parallels you have because you're feeling liberated, but then also because you're feeling suppressed, right? And I would say that even if you want to cover from head to toe, that's your thing. If you like it and that's what you want to do, and and this is your life, and that's what you 100% totally fine. Again, goes back to confidence and comfort. And in any environment.
Yeah.
If you want to be unique at the airport, if you want to do that, totally that's your thing. And that's completely fine because it's your conviction. That's what you want to do.
Absolutely.
But I will also want to, since we're talking about culture and specifically South Asian culture, it's interesting how there's an evolution, right? Because you have coming to America, there's the, my parents were immigrants, right? I was born here. My kids were born here. I don't know what's going to happen in the next generation, but I would say that, clothing and ideas, perception, like you were mentioning, beauty, having fair skin, there's certain features that are attractive. Tell us what the stereotypical things that maybe you go to a function, event, a dinner party where you might have some conservative aunties at. Typically, what does that look like? What are their expectations when you go to go to for a religious service or something like that?
Yeah.
What is the expectation there versus maybe something that is not? I just understand what the vantage point is.
Yeah, I've actually noticed with different people. There are times that these aunties are super judgmental if you're wearing any sort of clothing or any even look. Like a lot of women don't like girls wearing very deep neck cuts or very skimpy sort of clothes. So they would look at you and they would completely judge you. But then at the same time, there were some women who were beautiful, kind hearted, and they would come and then they would tell me that, okay, I love what you're wearing. Where is this piece from? So I think it's different people how they've brought up culturally at different families or different cultures. But for me, I feel that you could look beautiful and elegant wearing a beautiful sari, which is like a perception for an Indian attire. So, you could wear that and look beautiful. You could wear a very stylish abaya and you can look beautiful. You could wear a beautiful Western gown and then you can, feel comfortable and look beautiful. So, end of the day, I think it's about comfort. I think that's what I feel. If you're comfortable and if you love what you're wearing, you'll be confident, and no auntie
or no
will
anybody
be able to question you about it.
Right. So what do you say about customizing your attire to specific, maybe there are people that might go into a work environment and still dress like they were at the club,
Yeah.
And, do you feel as though those are individuals that might need to customize perhaps their attire to certain spaces? Why do you think people do that? And why do you think people don't do that?
I think it's certain corporate places or certain restaurants, if they allow, then people do that. Because human mentality is that they want to do what they feel comfortable at, right? And I love that about it. But then there are certain hard and fast rules from certain areas where you're not supposed to do that, and naturally they're not allowed. But it's about allowance, I think.
Right. Yeah.
If a restaurant is not going to allow, they're not going to allow.
Right. Nowadays, and perhaps maybe in a lot of different societies, it's like what you're wearing, who you're carrying, the designer items. Sometimes you're doing it for other people, right? And you go to these events that are superficial, where the first thing that happens is when you show up, you're basically parading around your items.
And you're checked out.
You're getting checked out, this and that. to be honest, those are some of the saddest parties I've ever been to.
Me too.
And it's like there's no conversation happening.
Yes.
There's no authenticity. I think maybe my theory is that perhaps maybe that's how they're validating themselves. But,
Yeah. I think honestly, I feel it's about their insecurities. I think a lot of people are so insecure because I think even social media and this day of age where people are just judged by what they wear, what they, their bank balance, their status, their standards. That's what people are judged in most of these parties, which is sad.
Yeah. And most times their bank balance does not match.
It doesn't.
It's I mean, authenticity is important.
Authenticity is very important. And I think that there comes where, different people hang around with different people who are, giving them attention because of those things. To me, or, even as much as I know about you, I feel like we are people about quality. We want to have one-on-one connection. We believe in good energy. We believe in, looking good or, being happy. Most of those people are not happy.
Right.
They are trying to please people by buying these bags and, because like if we buy this beautiful branded bag, we do it for ourselves. It's a sense of pride for us, right? Like we've done this hard work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This is beautiful and we want to do this for ourselves.
Right.
It gives a sense of achievement for us.
Yeah.
But then most of these women, which, is sad that they feel the need to get that, spending other people's money and then get this status in the society. And I think they're super insecure because you can't even have any conversation with them.
Yeah. I think it doesn't, material things bring, there was a study, they bring happiness for a little bit, but then after that, then it goes, you know? And so, and I would say, and by extension, even social media and what we're seeing and even the fillers. And now it's like, oh, you got skinny because of Ozempic? Oh, she can afford Ozempic.
Yeah. I think everybody looks the same now with this Botox and this, they all look the same. It's a funny thing where I was listening that, there is this particular actress which everybody made fun of. Her name is Rakhi Samant. And then everybody would make fun of her. But now you see majority of the ones who made fun of her look like her.
Right. No. But that's the thing is, though, I think that it's, jealousy is a kind of a form of flattery.
Yeah.
Because if it bothers you that much, it's triggering you that much, there's something unresolved there,
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, so I would say that is a lot of society now.
Yeah, but I think people don't understand that that's not what is genuine, or I think that's not which is solid. Like, for example, a lot of women are getting Botox or they're wearing this certain brands or they have this stigma that only this is going to make them look good or validate. That's not true because if you want to survive or if you want that a person's attention, they don't like that. It's like our own personality. I think we being ourselves is what anybody's going to like, whether it's, your girlfriend or a guy who you want to be with or, a social gathering where you want to be seen.
Right.
It's your values, your strength, and your experience is what is going to connect and give that sort of good energy.
Yeah. 100%. I believe, from what I'm hearing, authenticity is super important. And something that I live by is be the person you want to meet. And if you go to a gathering like that, do you want to meet somebody that's sizing you up based off of the things that you own and what you're wearing and what you look like? No. Most times maybe you do. I don't know if you do that and you like that. That's good for you. That means you're happy, Yeah. But most people, I think that if you really want an authentic connection, then you need to be authentic.
Absolutely. Honestly, you tell me, if you go to any party, do you look at a person's personality or her nature, or you look at what she's wearing?
Yeah, definitely not what she's wearing.
Yes.
To be honest, actually, it's really funny because I was talking to my daughter about this.
Yeah.
There's a girl that, we observed that, by, I believe that she's beautiful 100%,
Yeah.
But, if she had a worse personality, she would not be an attractive person. But everybody loves her because she, whatever, maybe I'm not even saying there's anything wrong with that. Like, if maybe the looks are not, her personality is just amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing. And I think that that's how people are forgetting that portion of it.
They are. It's so sad because, I mean, naturally, I go to India. I go once a year, or I try to go twice a year, and I go to this fashion week where I meet the top designers, I meet the celebrities, I meet all sorts of different people. At work, I meet so many people. I've known a lot of like very influential people. And I've seen that they are people who have achieved a lot. They don't even wear those brands, or they don't even carry those sort of things. If they do, they make sure that it's not, shouting or screaming at somebody, right? A lot of people who has, not achieved much, they're trying to get attention, thinking that if they can wear certain things, they can stand in that societal norms.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. I mean, and I think achievement comes in a lot of different forms, right?
Yeah.
I mean, whether it be an entrepreneur or doing well in, your school, or, whatever, maybe you're the best mom, maybe your husband works hard, but you're also there taking care of the kids to allow for him to go do that, because there's so many different places for that to happen. But I think that sometimes people get sucked into certain groups because they think that they need to belong based off of what society thinks. But they would be so much better off if they would just be authentic to themselves.
Yeah, I think also, I mean, I've seen and I've actually witnessed, you cannot survive in that group because it's just such bad energy there. So a lot of women are, or anybody who's really struggling to be a part of that group and circle, but then they're not happy. They are not satisfied. It gets them so much, sadness or, uncomfortable.
Because it's like they're being left out, right?
They're being left
and I think
out.
that's a kind of like a mean girl thing that happens too.
Yeah.
Optics, looks play a big role in the way that even women treat. One thing is a man sees you wear a hijab, whatever, you come into a boardroom, dress scant, whatever. That's one thing that a man does, but also women judge, right?
Yes.
And I think that that's where the mean girls situation happens.
It is.
But sadly, and not even sadly, it's just the truth, and most people don't realize it. The people that have the biggest bark, the people that are the nastiest, are usually the most unhappy.
Absolutely.
They're miserable.
They're miserable.
People. Yeah.
I agree totally. I think people who are struggling and trying to be happy are trying to sort of search, and they feel like, okay, this is going to make them happy, but that's not going to do that. I learned that. I've actually been a part of these circles. Yes. And I actually went thinking, like, I spent so much time getting ready. I spent so much, money on wearing a certain outfit.
Oh, yeah.
And I go there thinking that I'm going to find good people, good friends. I'm going to, that's going to make me happy. It actually ends up making me super sad. I come home and there's like this sense of negativity, which I feel like everybody was talking things about somebody, and you feel like guilty that you've been a part of that, even though you're not, you're not doing that. You're not gossiping or bitching about people. And still you feel like really sad.
It's the energy.
That's the energy.
I mean, a specific example, I mean, not even specific. A lot of those kind of examples are the same, You go to an event, you go with your best foot forward.
Absolutely.
You spend money on an outfit. They're not cheap. those
And
ones
not just that,
yeah.
like you actually sometimes you have to be a part of that where you feel
Celebrating a milestone. I
Yeah.
believe, celebrating a milestone, a wedding,
Yeah.
somebody's celebration, beautiful, but you go to these events, somebody might have come into this party having had a fight with their husband.
Yeah.
And they're in a mood, and then they don't
Yes.
want to make eye contact because somebody might have just gotten ignored by somebody else. And now they just think that everybody's out to get them,
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
just these groups of women. I mean, whether it
Absolutely.
be in the South Asian community,
Yeah.
even PTO moms.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there are tons of women out there that they go to these PTO meetings and literally side-eyed by, or whatnot, because
Yeah.
maybe somebody just had like an issue with somebody else.
Yeah.
Maybe their kid isn't doing well. Maybe they, an elderly parent, who knows, right? But people bring all of these energies into these spaces, and you're putting in all of this effort. That's a lot of effort and some of these, I know this circuit, at least in a lot of metropolitan areas, 2, 3, 4 parties a day. That's not an achievement. I'm sorry, unless it's like every once in a while, maybe for some circles it is, but it's not if you don't want to be there. If you want to be there, that's beautiful. But if you don't want to be there and you're miserable going, what does that say?
There's so many games like that in this community. It's just unfortunate. Like, I feel like life is so short and, you don't know who's going through what, but I think it's about considerations that we need to be considerate about what's going around. If we are in a bad mood, like if suppose I feel bad or if I'm not in a good mood, I'd rather not go to that place.
Right.
Because I think not just about like myself, but I think about other people. That's what I think has become like people are not considerate. They're super inconsiderate because they feel like they want to find the so-called happiness, but that's also not getting them happiness.
No.
It's so messed up.
It is 100% messed up. And so I would say, and I feel like this is a big message because people don't talk about this. And I think that this is something very much so. And I feel like in many communities, at least within women,
Yes.
that trying to belong to that popular group or trying to belong within a certain space based off of things, certain circles. If that doesn't feel right for you, go to the nice person who will talk to you and is kind to you and is always respectful to you.
Yeah.
You will always feel good in that environment. Why push against something that is not meant for you?
Yeah.
And to be honest, it'll save you a lot of time and money too.
Absolutely. I would rather go and sit by the beach and breathe and meditate and listen to good music than going to this event and be hated and feel sad and ruin my few days and impact my health.
Right.
And just get nothing.
Right. Agreed. And I think that the biggest change comes in isolation.
Yeah.
I mean, at least for me, within the past decade, maybe when I was like completely, I had to my kids and that was the only kind of like social scene that I would get. Quickly, I learned, I'm like, ooh, it's not for me. This is not it. And I feel
it's amazing.
But awareness is important too. I think a lot of people are stuck in the cycle of thinking that they need to belong.
Yeah.
But you don't need to belong.
It's so funny, Alia. Like, it's not only just in the age frame of ours, which this is happening. It's happening in every age group. There's groupism. There are women who feel making fun of others will empower them. It's unfortunate, but this is happening. And I feel like we need to teach our coming generation that everything is about taking care of ourselves. Like if we have to understand that, okay, fine, we don't like going there. It's okay to not go and first fill our cup. I was listening to Oprah Winfrey's one of the speech and it was so beautiful. It says that, or she says that you need to fill your cup first and then you try to fill others.
Right.
So like if your cup is empty, how are you going to be able to do anything? You're basically like with nothing.
Right.
So I feel like once you do that self-care, you do that self-talk, you take care of yourself, see what makes you happy, whether it's exercise, whether it's wearing a beautiful outfit, which you love. It's a different kind of dopamine which a woman or a man gets when they wear something which they feel they look good. And then, do something what you love and eat something good or be with somebody. You don't need 10 people. You need that one person.
You need ChatGPT.
Yeah.
That's who you need.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, unbiased advice or a therapist. I feel like should not be stigmatized. But I think that your point is that the only person that you need to make happy is you.
Yes.
If in your heart you know that is going to be a tense environment or it is going to be something, if you have to do certain things, I mean, we all go to work, we all do things and whatnot. And sometimes we have to go to the, school to see, whatever, but know that your opinions matter.
Yeah.
And you put yourself first. I think we come from these like cultures where it's very selfless. It is something that is ingrained in us because it was ingrained in our parents and it was ingrained. We're victims of victims, right?
Yeah.
That ingraining of the shame and the guilt and people pleasing and always putting other people first. This
always
is not the way.
Yes.
Absolutely. Always saying yes. And I think perhaps maybe that's the root of it is that, oh, no, we can, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. You can say no.
Yeah. But actually, I think that is an important point is, so I would say the takeaway here. I think we've had a lot of really interesting, I mean, in terms of, we were talking about confidence, talking about just the way that we're viewed, perception, identity, especially when it comes from culture and just society. But this also here is that the attention, and wanting it, the validation, wanting it from things that we believe that this is what's going to validate us. But essentially what is validating to us is what we think of ourselves.
Yeah. I think we are constantly wanting to please others and we want to know what their opinion is about us. Why? Why can't we validate ourselves? Why can't we understand that, okay, end of the day, no matter what, like for my store as well, like I get a lot of clients who are like, okay, we need your opinion. We want you to design this for us. I try to do that, but end of the day, they do what they like, right? So that is human mentality, which every human knows that they have that built in them. We just need to realize that this is inbuilt in us. We need to utilize that.
Oh, 100%. Do not dilute yourself.
Absolutely.
Do not dilute. So I think that sometimes we think that especially with that kind of group, you need to be invited here. You need to show up here. I need to be everywhere. The more you are everywhere, the more they take you for granted.
Absolutely.
And you take yourself for granted because you're circulating,
Yeah, and you have intuitions, right? So you feel those instincts where one person was cold one day, but today that person is warm. But then the same person is again cold. So there's like a lot of hot and cold behavior in a lot of people too, which actually kind of plays
mind games.
And it kind of like messes us up.
I have a very black and white solution to that. My thing is that there are three kinds of people.
Yeah.
You have the people, they're ride or die. They're going to have your back, your family, your close friends, your, good friendships, good authentic people. So you know where they stand, right?
Yes.
Then that bitch that is going to be mean to you every single time, that is going to give you an attitude every single time. You know where she stands.
Absolutely.
But the worst kind of people are the ones that you don't know where they stand. One day they're nice. The next day they're not nice. They're flip-floppy. Anytime know that I'm not sure where they stand. Oh, she asked me to lunch. She didn't follow up. Oh, like, yeah, let's get together. No get together. No follow up. Make it very black and white.
Absolutely.
Anybody that is in the between, that is ambivalent, and you do not know where they stand, we waste that toxic person that you know where they stand is actually better for you.
Absolutely.
Than the person that is flip-flopping.
Or a hypocrite.
Or a hypocrite, exactly. Because they say one thing, they do another. You're confused. You don't know what's going on. Yeah. So I say, at least, and, just in my journey of finding satisfaction. And, I think we're both in a similar vein because we're just like, okay, well, you understand it, you see it, but make it black and white.
Yeah. And I think also what I feel, and I've actually done a lot of research on this, that all human are made in a way that we want to hold on to something rather than holding on to something which is not permanent, we should hold on to something which is permanent. And I think spirituality is something which really makes a big difference. It accepts, us the way we are. And I think that connection kind of grounds you. It humbles you. And I think a lot of dreams and wishes do come true when you connect to that superpower.
Right. I 100% believe
Yeah.
that. And I also believe that we're here for experiences.
Yes.
And sometimes you just have to trust and let it be.
Yeah.
When something that's not for you, don't push for something that is not for you.
Not for you. The same way, like our body, right? A lot of time we as women, we push ourselves so much, try to do everything. And, we're made certain way. We need to realize that. We cannot do everything. We're not made that way. So just that realization, I think, can change a lot, which we don't understand. We're trying to please, so many people. We're trying to please our families, our partners, our friends. We're trying to do things which we're trying to please everybody. But when it comes to please ourselves, we don't get pleased because we're made that way. So I think understanding that makes a big, big thing.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I think specifically be authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
And I think also tying it in with fashion, the first thing you mentioned is be authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
Whether it's size, whatever it is, validate yourself.
First.
You matter, and and everything else will just come to you.
Yeah.
Which I love. So yeah.
I know. When I went to school and I used to learn so much, while working with so many different accomplished designers, everybody talks about fashion where it's like, okay, it's this certain embroideries, this certain workmanship. Yes, all of that is there. But I think fashion is, or anything in life is about love. If you love something, it just completely changed the entire persona of that. If you love wearing something, you're going to absolutely, and actually, I think that's going to keep you going as well. Because end of the day, everything is in your mind, whether it's illness, whether it's being happy, whether it's connection with, the superpower or being spiritual. I think it's all in our mind. There are people who were known that they have only certain days to live. They kept and they fought with their own mind, and they are living, and they've kind of crossed and changed every, scientific norm.
Oh, 100%. I think
It's miraculous.
What you believe on the inside, you create your reality.
Yes.
It's like the whole thing with the red car. It's like if I asked you how many red cars on the way here, you might have not remembered. But now that I asked you, now every time you see a red car, you're going to see it.
That's all you're going to see.
If you choose to see negative things, you will only see them.
Yeah.
So why do that to yourself?
Why? Yeah. I think that's what the thing is. A lot of women don't realize that. And I also feel it's a lot to do with their childhood growing up traumas.
Yes.
But then if you really sit and understand that, I think life is so beautiful. I seriously believe every day, everything we have, if we sit down and have, the lineup of that, we have so much to be grateful for, and there won't be any sort of depression or feeling down when we actually sit and realize that.
Agreed. I agree. It takes work to get there, though, I will say.
Yeah.
I mean, from someone that is, but the first step is being aware of it.
Yeah.
That you could be, and I would say that I'm not 100% all the time. Things happen, but you work on it. When I work on myself, that's when I feel most content. And
yeah, I agree.
I think everyone should spend time with themselves.
Absolutely.
Be comfortable with yourself, because if you cannot be comfortable with your thoughts, yourself, where does that say you need to go?
Yes.
So,
and I think also we need to teach that or talk about this more. We as, human, we heard our parents telling us you need to be only certain thing to kind of achieve this, right? This is what we've been brought up. But then I think times have changed. For us, what I feel now for our coming generation, we need to sort of spread that what's more important is our own happiness and taking care of ourselves. Because with this social media too, like if you see, I'm sure you
There's
see
so
with
much
that
stuff out there.
your girls, right? They are like striving hard. They're really, really pushing themselves to achieve something. It's not about
It's
us.
unattainable, actually.
Yeah, like see, back in the days, like us, we were more towards what our parents are going to think. We need to prove them, we need to make them proud. This generation is how we can make other people happy. You know, like that social media, like the TikTok trend.
Right. The
It's
selfless, because
unbelievable.
you're doing it for everybody. It's
Yeah, and
for the
there's
likes, for
so
the
much pressure.
views.
Yeah.
There's 100%.
There's so much pressure.
Right. Yeah. No, 100%. Authenticity is key. And
Yeah.
I would both agree on that. And definitely there needs to be more awareness when
Yeah.
it comes to it. There is hope in the sense that you will love yourself. You know,
Absolutely.
you spend time with yourself, you will love yourself, you know? And I think that people think that they love themselves, but truly love yourself. And then the rest will come, you know? And
Yeah.
especially even with fashion, I feel like, you have really explained very well how, just my perception has really changed. I was like, yeah, that's right. Why do I need to fit into that size 0?
Yeah.
I'm like, do I need to? And, I'm healthy. I'm working out. I feel good,
Yeah.
but it's a shift, and there's always going to be a shift.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear, where can we reach you? I know you're starting your new fashion line.
Yes.
Tell us about it. Tell us all about it. And also tell us where and when and what's happening. Where can we
Okay.
reach you?
So I think I've actually learned a lot over years, where I actually went to school and then I worked under a lot of fashion designers, and living in US, seeing and working with a lot of like Eastern, Indian, Pakistani traditional pieces. I've always had this lean towards something which we kind of fit in here, and again, something which we can, feel comfortable with, because Indian clothing or Pakistani clothing could be very, very, demanding or overwhelming. We living in the Western culture, we've learned about quality versus, just too much. So I kind of brought that in my collection. My cuts are more and my silhouettes are more towards the Western with the embroideries of Eastern touch. So it has like a little bit of like this Eastern touch to it, but then it has that look. And then I wanted to keep in mind that with social media, everybody wears that once. So I don't want to keep anything on the price point which is over $400 or $500, because that comes, which is like little less affordable. Even though if you can afford that, you don't want to wear that.
Right.
You don't want to spend that. So I wanted to bring this collection which is like less than $400, and it still makes you look stunning. You could wear that in different occasions. You could wear it for the dinner. You can wear it for an American party, or you can wear it in an Indian function. You can sort of wear that a lot.
Yeah.
And I want to bring that trend, which I don't think anybody's done that you should be okay wearing that same piece 10 times.
I love that you said that.
Yeah.
I love that you said that, because it's a sickness, I think.
Yeah.
The amount that people spend on one outfit
And wearing it
and
once.
never wear it again,
Yes.
it's a sickness.
So I want to do that. I want to bring that trend where I want people to feel proud wearing that over and over and again, because I have certain pieces, like some jackets, which I'm so in love with, and I don't mind wearing them all the time, like a uniform, because I love it so much. So that's what I want to bring. Like I want to bring that. I'm also bringing this where if people want to customize and personalize and put their designer touch to it, you're welcome to do that. But then I'll guide you what will make you look, something, I'll help you with your mindset.
Because the last thing is that I wouldn't even know what is even available.
Exactly.
What cut,
Exactly.
what sleeves are even available. I wouldn't even know it. So guidance is
I want to
important.
do that. I want to bring comfort. Where I think a lot of women said that Indian clothing or Pakistani clothing or South Asian clothing could be very itchy. I'm sure your kids.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's the itchiness, but then also getting stuck in the shirt.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to do that.
Panic attack.
Yes. So that's what I'm bringing. Like I do a lot of these silhouettes where it's very comfortable, easy to wear. You don't need them to call you and be like, please help me. They should be able to wear that by themselves. So I want to bring that trend, and see how it goes. And then if ever you want to have one of that thing of your own logo, which is AK, you could get that done.
I love it. And that's like that's actually a fun thing. I think
Yeah.
maybe that's a good business.
It's something you want to
I think a
flaunt.
business idea. I think,
Yes.
personalization, I think, is super important.
Yes.
I love that. I think that it's a realistic new take on something that you're breaking this like pattern.
Yes.
Everybody's uncomfortable doing the said pattern,
Yeah, well,
nobody
why?
says it.
So the thing is, they're okay wearing a branded clothing which has, which is screaming, which is Gucci or Louis Vuitton or certain thing. Why can't they wear their own name logo? Like, I would love to have GK written here, and people be like, I think that's going to be more standing out because people are like, okay, we've heard about Gucci and Louis Vuitton. What is GK?
Right, exactly.
So that's something which I want to create.
I love that. I love the personalization. I love the versatility. And I love the fact that, you're somebody that believes in their consumers' best interests.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of brands are not that way. So I applaud you for that.
Okay.
What is your, IG and your website? Where can we see things? Where can we reach you?
My collection is going to come soon on the website, but anybody can order that through Raz. And then we have this Instagram handle, Raz Couture, and my Instagram handle is Ghazala Khan Raz. And yeah, it's all over internet. I mean, you can look us up. You can see we've believed in quality. I like using really good fabrics, which is long lasting than once or twice wear.
I love that.
So
Oh, 100%. Well, thank you so much. This has been a very enlightening and meaningful conversation, I think, to a lot of people.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.